players individually do okay, but I'll hold that thought as the attack is going in rather aggressively with the run it back. The blind actually doesn't go around the curve, the curveball doesn't go around the corner, sorry, so it doesn't catch anybody. And right now, we're seeing a pretty good job of Code7 holding onto this site. An aggressive push, not really going too far, but then again, the guns really aren't available too much for Immortals right now. So Nicolas could sit back a little bit, but actually decides to use up the teleport from the shadows and he's right around this corner where Genghsta spots him.
It's looking promising right now, as it is a 3-on-2, and you saw Genghsta get that kill. It's Thief on the site, though. We talked about it. His play has been good thus far. Spots out the first one, but doesn't even win that battle against the already lit-up foe, so it will be an 11th round here as Code7 has stolen the lead back, and they'll balance out the ults as well by trading the defuse off to the Raze. That was a really big round. Massive implications. I'm not sure what the money's going to look like exactly here with the buy. The bomb plant certainly helping just a little bit there, but not sure how much cash is actually going to be on their side.
There's allowed Code7 the lead here, and I think we kind of predicted it quite nicely, I suppose, where, like, because these maps aren't picked necessarily, it's mostly based when it comes to map picks on bans. And then Team A bans the map, Team B bans the map, and then the map that is played in these best of ones is decided randomly. So all of these teams need to be very careful. Nobody really picks split, but considering the format and how this is done, you need to be better prepared on maps that you might not necessarily practice as much. So I think both of these teams are dealing with things relatively well, but you would expect Immortals to be, you know, beat them to the punch. They should be the better team. They are the signed ones. They have this setup. They have all of this foundation set up for them to play as well as they possibly can. But Code7 is really making them sweat a little bit. Seems a lot of pressure is going to be put on mid. Tork, I like this placement with the rope push, but the slow is going to be nicely placed. They aren't quite sure if any more is going to be coming up through, but the flash is dedicated. Yet again, not quite catching anybody, but Asuna with the showstopper gets the kill, and Tork's positioning is nice. You can only get 2 out of the 3 kills, though.
Yeah, but you've still got Robwiz here on the site with the operator. They don't anticipate this backup coming in from the Jet. Doesn't expect that peek coming up from Genghsta. So it will come down to the 2-on-2. The neural theft going down to give some intel here for the remaining 2 players of Immortals. You've got Thief and Genghsta on site. Spike's been planted in front of the double stack. Both players coming in through heaven. Will they spot them? There's the paranoia coming out. First one's right on the money for Thief. Thief's going to deliver a few courtesy shots after the fatality comes in off the rifle. We are tied back up at 11 apiece. You know, we talked about those overtime rules and how they might change from group stages into playoffs, and we might get to see it play out in the very first map of the event.
Definitely. Like, I'm interested to see what these fully fleshed out rules do. I'm interested to see how long games get, because, you know, in Counter-Strike, where they have a full overtime system, those games could get relatively long, and considering it's, you know, match round 15, they're pretty long anyway, certainly longer than Valorant, right? So I'm curious to see how much of a bump up it does onto durations of matches. But I think right now both these teams want to avoid that at all costs, don't want to go into overtime. So this round is especially important. Whoever wins it has 1 foot in the door of winning this game. But considering how both these teams have been trading rounds, it's super hard to say who's got this. You've got to say with the ultimates available to Code7, namely the showstopper, it's a nice way to have the numbers advantage if they can get a frag. Code7 right now taking this very patiently, not over pushing, not rotating too early. They're sitting nicely. Robwiz has a nice angle. He was going to spot somebody, but the orbital strike is going to move him away.
There's the ult in the back of sight, but it doesn't scare Robwiz at all. He's still here, still going for the peek. A bold one at that, as his teammate had to back off from the site, so that's a bit of a problem. Hot hands coming down towards spawn, but the Sage can exist back behind it. You've already got 2 players coming in through heaven as well. Thief doesn't realize that they're both here, but they don't realize he's here either. The Cypher on Cypher battle goes the way of the defense, but it's currently an advantage coming in for the attacking side. It's a 3-on-2 with the Spike ticking down lower and lower. And the remaining 2, one of them's already low. That's the Cypher, who has to come back towards the Sage for a heal, and that might give away a little bit of intel.
And all of that information got by the neural theft is going to be lost. It really seems awkward now, to the point that I think we are going to be seeing Code7 have to save. It would put Immortals on match point. Every little helps in this case. Buy up all of the utility that you can grab. The camera's back in the hands. Oh, sorry, the tripwire's back in the hands. And that was a really good round on this attack. It was patient play. Robwiz did quite a lot of damage with a double kill with the operator, but just got trapped, could only do so much. But I love the lurk from Thief onto mid. Could have got so much more done if he could get that spray transfer, but did enough. Code7 are constantly having to look behind them because they're so paranoid about where Immortals could be positioned. But I love a good lurker in roles like this, and Thief, so far for me, has been outstanding on this roster.
There's that cam placement too. You like that? I love that cam coming in from Payen that peeks up in through the glass towards A main. So we make it here, the final round of regulation. What do we see come in from Code7? We mentioned this so many times. They've been in this position, so close, and yet at the same time, so far from picking up those big wins. We talked about it. There was definitely upset potential coming into this series, and you've seen that already as this has gone the full distance. The question is whether or not they have enough to defend here, given what's coming their way. There's the flash coming through. The curveball works out so nicely. Foe trying to lay down some support to get that Sage back in position. Omen is over towards Vents. There's the swing coming in from Foe, who guns down Genghsta. That's a big piece to lose, but the Sage has died actually on the site, so that's a problem as well. There's still support there, but it looks like they're going to be going back towards the A site where you've only got the Omen. He's here alone, trying to play around this corner. Do they peek this in time? The smoke's going to come down. They're going to be checking towards spawn. No! Nicolas comes up empty-handed. Payen has to save the day. Here he's going to find one, make it two, and it's down to a 2-on-2. You've still got Asuna and the Cypher on the site going for the spike plant, but Robwiz is alive, and Robwiz can be so deadly.
Yeah, he can win this for his team. Try and clutch it out as much as possible. You've got to know that the positioning isn't going to be good for the attackers as they got the plant, the spike planted, sorry, so they're not going to be moving off the site. They can really sort of pincer them here, put a lot of pressure onto them. Asuna's going to hold close towards screens, knows that there's somebody there, but Robwiz gets a nice crossfire. It's Asuna that wins that fight. It's just going to be the raise, goes up against somebody that's so low health, the counterpart, but also has to work out where the Cypher is, trying to fight it, just wallbanging as much as possible, but all of this time being dedicated. There's one, there's the second, we're going to overtime. There should be enough time to get this defuse in. It's going to be a narrow one, but that sums up this game so far, Bok. It's down to the wire.
Who else would you want other than Foe coming in there towards the end with that clutch as well? It works out so nicely for Code7. So now we go to OT, and you mentioned the overtime rules might change throughout the event. The most recent patch introducing, of course, the 2-round rule, but we're not going to be seeing that during the group stages. That's only in playoffs, correct?
That's correct. Like time restrictions, we have so many games to get through, right? So having these long overtimes isn't going to work. But definitely for the playoffs, I would imagine games are going to be as close as this. It would be good if it was sort of in these rounds to have the first game, the proper NA game since this patch went in, to see it in action, you know, because that's going to be like the standard for the future, right? But round 25, 12 all, we knew it was going to be awkward for Immortals on a map like Split, but how awkward, it's hard to say. The economy's reset, 5,000 credits for everybody. Everybody also 4 ult points away from having their ultimates, so there's not going to be any big plays unless there's a few multi-kills here. So Immortals have it all to do on this attack now. Code7 looking pretty good, but I imagine both teams are going to be sweating it right now.
There's the wall up early here as Foe goes over it and wants to peek back towards mid, spots out a lot of players in that territory, decides probably not worth it to stick around for too much longer. The ice has been carved apart, at least for the time being, and again you have Nicolas in the same position we've seen him in before. It's only really paid off once or twice, as the Omen plays very passively in the ropes, but it doesn't stop Immortals from continuing to respect the possibility of a player being there, despite the fact that there almost never has been. He's always been sitting at the bottom of ropes, waiting for the push to come through. 40 seconds now. The clock is ticking down. They need to make a move.
This is really well done from Code7. The wick is burning, like you mentioned, and all of this time just being narrowly wasted. Robwiz has a nice angle onto Heaven and B main, where the spike is, might I add. So he's keeping a close eye. They're giving a lot of space up, but this is the kind of play you get it. Oh, he misses the shot. Robwiz is put under a lot of pressure. He has the dash to get out, but look at this crossfire now. Tork is in a nice spot, but his position given away. That's a good amount of damage done already from Immortals. Foe is on the back foot, gets a frag onto Genghsta, is trying to get more, and it's now a 3 versus 2 in favor of Immortals.
They literally had seconds to kill off the clock, and it would have worked out so nicely. It's now down to 1. It's Payen. He's in a 1-on-2 after taking down the first target. Both players locked in the same position. He's got one behind the wall and one right to the right. There's the first shot coming out for Payen! He's gonna pick it up! It's going to be Code7 who walks away victorious off a massive 1v3 clutch.
You couldn't write this. It's the first game that we've seen tonight, and it's already a big upset. One of the big complaints I think about NA as a region has been it's too predictable. It's always the organizations, the signed dogs that win it, but not this time. Code7 coming in clutch. And we did say this is the team to watch. I hope